joining us right now, fresh off his award-winning, and if not soon-to-be award-winning radio show in Houston, Texas, also heard in New Orleans. The one, the only, and kind enough, he joins us year-round. We were announcing all our football guests throughout the year, but kind enough to join us each and every Friday at 8:05. Good morning, Sean. How are you, my man?
I'm good, man. Well, good to see you on the, post one game, and then you get the first full NFL season, some big college games. Great to be with you, man.
Well, brother, let's get right to it. And I want to talk to you about, obviously, everyone's talking about Antonio Brown. I've very much been looking forward to you coming on, though, because for the last, since Hard Knocks started and all this helmet stuff happened, I've seen the chatter on social media, and I haven't once brought it up on the radio, about is there something more going on with Antonio Brown? But when I see ex-NFL players going online and going on television saying, hey, listen, we're really worried about this guy. It may not just be that he's a diva. We may be seeing something brain-related going on with Antonio Brown, and somebody needs to check him out. You're a guy who played the game. You're a guy who was concussed. You're a guy who fought the same battles on the same fields as him, so I respect your opinion more than anyone. Do you see at all a legit chance, that we're dealing with more than just a spoiled guy in Antonio?
Maybe, and I'm not. I'm about as compassionate as it comes to not only injuries, but people that are struggling or going through difficult times. I'm not a knee-jerk guy when it comes to, we're in a society where somebody does something wrong, we all want to fire everybody, and it's all, let's get rid of them. We're into that right now. Oh, well, he did it, just get rid of him. And not just here, but in any job. Now, I will tell you this. I'm also not going to make the excuse for him that, because I don't know, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not sure as hell not going to play a psychologist or a mental health doctor, and I have all the compassion in the world. I don't judge people's mental health because I don't know. Is it a serious thing with people? Sure it is. I don't know about Antonio Brown's mental health. I can tell you this, if it's mental health, then it's been going on a while.
Yeah.
This isn't just new crap. That's why. So I'm not going to, I hate to tell you, while I am compassionate, I'm not going to make the excuse for Antonio Brown, the built-in excuse of, he's not spoiled, he's not a diva. It has to be concussion related.
Right.
I'm not, or mental health. I'm not throwing that out there because I think we're using that term way too loosely that some of them are. Now, if he's got a problem, maybe. Now, does he love football? I don't know. Doesn't seem like he really wants to play to me. There's no bigger Raider fan, no bigger, more compassionate. Nobody wants Antonio Brown, the productive Antonio Brown, on the field more than me. But if it was me, I'd cut him. He would not. It sends a bad. Are you going to let him go out there and be insubordinate to a general manager and challenge him? What has Antonio Brown done positive since he showed up to Oakland? Helmet, contract, complaints in Pittsburgh, makes the Steelers look like geniuses. I mean, I haven't seen anything. Doesn't show up. Kind of shows up, then leaves again, and then he gets fined, and now he wants to put it on Instagram, and then he goes out and goes after the GM. John Gruden's played tough guy his whole career, right? And I love John. Been a tough guy his whole career as a coach. John Brock saying, here's how you got to handle this. And when you hear Hard Knocks, well, show us what you got then. Show us what you got as a Raider fan. If you want to be the old Oakland Raiders, well, they had a bunch of personalities when John Madden. They also knew how to police themselves and wouldn't let crap like this happen that affected the team. You can have all the fun you want. If you're going to break curfew, you sure as hell better come and play. So times have changed, and I get that. That's not the get off my lawn guy. But if that's what you're going to do, John, and you want to draw a line in the sand, you're going to let him punk your GM like that? And I'm usually on the player's side 99% of the time. I'd cut him. First, what I'd do, if they really wanted to get after the way he's treated his teammates, meaning not showing up and and every single thing that goes on there is the distraction that has been created by Antonio Brown, is suspend him. The most the team can suspend him with the CBA is 4 games. Suspend him without pay for 4 games. He's been conduct detrimental. According to Pro Football Talk, he hasn't received a penny yet because he didn't meet his off-the-field $500,000 bonus this offseason, so he's mad about that. He's mad about this fight. Now you go 4 games of suspension, indefinite suspension. You can't get him paid then. Then at the end of the 4 games, if you want to cut him, cut him. 5 games in. If you really want to send a loud message and take away what he supposedly loves to do and hit him in the wallet, but then you send a loud message and say, how about a little humble pie? If it's me, now we've gotten to the point, and this is the first time I've said this about Antonio Brown, that the chronic migraine headache outweighs the talent. And I just don't know what kind of message, by keeping him and allowing him to do this and not suspending him either heavily and seeing if he changes. But do you really think he's going to change?
No.
This didn't happen yesterday. This is him. This is a trend. And I hate to say it because every time I've been around him and met him, he's been nothing but a good dude to me. So this is nothing personal. But to me, if you're the Raiders and you want to send for your franchise and for respect, the talent's not worth it. They're going to go, listen, they're not winning 9 games, dude, with him. They ain't winning 9 games with him. I'm a Raider fan. I know them as good as damn near John Gruden knows that team. They're winning 9 games. Lucky to win, 6 or 7 with him? So, man, we went 7 and 9 with him and 4 and 12 or 5 and 11 without him. Big friggin' deal. Okay, big friggin' deal. He ain't the difference in whether they're winning the division or not. And if he's going to be this big a headache, the bus leaves, the train leaves, the plane leaves this afternoon. Goodbye. And if he wants out, like he says supposedly now, trade me or release me, ain't nobody want to take on that salary for that headache. If they release him, somebody will pick him up. But you know what? You better be prepared for what you're taking on for that guy, because it ain't a changing, brother. He is what he is.
All right. So, and just so the audience understands, most of our audience knows you and has known you for years, but Sean is a diehard Raider fan his entire life. So you're very familiar with the team. You're very familiar with the history of the team. You remember Randy Moss coming over and doing what he did, or more importantly, what he didn't do with the Raiders. Let me ask you something else. When we pass blame around, Antonio Brown deserves blame. Maybe you could say Mike Mayock and or John Gruden, who's calling the shots, deserve blame for grabbing a guy who forced his way out of Pittsburgh in a dramatic fashion. Does Derek Carr fit in at all for you when you're talking about blame? And what I mean by that, Sean, is quarterback, captain, leader of the team. As an ex-quarterback, do you want to see Derek Carr step in more in this situation and be a little bit more vocal publicly and privately, or is he doing the right thing by just kind of staying out of it?
Well, I don't want him to be to waffle and be a spineless jellyfish. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. For instance, in a contract holdout, and this isn't a contract holdout, but this is the fine and that. What we always get on a player for jumping when we say, "Hey, man," like we heard Baker Mayfield. Remember when he was talking about
Duke Johnson?
Yep. Yeah, we need him in camp. We'll go on with that. Blah blah blah. Everybody ripped Baker Mayfield for jumping in. I don't talk about a guy as a teammate and his money. I don't ever get into a guy's money. I don't. So if you talk about it while a guy's under contract negotiation, everybody's pissed at you. So my question is with Derek Carr, and I've thought about this ad nauseum. And I know fans are out there saying, you cut Derek. I don't really care what you say about if you disagree with me on Antonio Brown. That's what makes life great. You can disagree and have your opinion. Mine is I don't think that his production matches the headache anymore. But with Derek Carr, it's a fine line because you want to defend your teammate. But is the teammate worth defending right now? I mean, I'm just because is he going to defend you? I don't know. Is he supposed to sit out there and say, hey, you shouldn't fine Antonio Brown? Antonio Brown fined himself. Denny Green, the great Denny Green, told us this the first day he got the job. And when we looked over the fine schedule that he put out, guess what the fine schedule was? He put it on there. It was on paper. Everybody knows what it is. I don't fine you. You fine yourself. If you're late for workout, late for your weight room session, you're late for practice, you miss curfew, there it is. I'm not going to hold it personal. Fine, there it is. Now, nobody went after Denny Green if they got fined for missing their scheduled workout, which some guys did, and Denny lambasted him for it, and he fined him. So I don't understand under contract why Antonio Brown thinks that he should have to pay the fine. I don't understand. You knew it going in. So how's Derek Carr supposed to defend that?
Right.
Hey, you should sign him anyway, and then guess what happens? Now the people what if the 5 guys up front or the other wide receivers like, nah, dude, what? He gets special treatment? Why? What's he done here? What has Antonio Brown done in Oakland? Pia drop in that city before you do anything. They got a lot of pride in Oakland. So, hey, in Pittsburgh, you did plenty. Hell, last year you caught 15 touchdowns. Guys is phenomenal talent. But what have you done here other than be a headache? So I'm with you. I understand. But when you that's the problem. When you infuse yourself, hang on a second. I'm running right by police with the phone in my ear.
Whoa. Don't do
that. Okay, sorry. There you go. When you infuse yourself into those types of conversations, I prefer a guy that'll stand up in front of his team and in the meeting, or go up to Antonio Brown, call him, text him, put your arm around him, help him in any way. But remember who employs you. I'm a team guy first, but you also got to see about, well, where does he step in? You shouldn't pay the fine. Okay, then the Raiders say, what do you mean you shouldn't pay the fine? What about the rest of us? What if Derek Carr gets fined? And then, so I don't know, not being in the locker room every day and how they're dealing with it, but I don't think you're ever going to get Derek Carr, and I think this has become a problem for some. I think people wonder what type of guy Derek Carr is when it comes to being that Brett Favre, tough guy, Dan Marino football player. I've heard both sides. I've heard great teammate, great player, and I've heard people close to the situation say he doesn't want to get hit and he'll disappear in December. So I'm just not sure what I'm going to get out of him. And when it comes to leadership, sometimes it's better to show than talk. I know a lot of guys who talk it. If you're going to be a good teammate, then live it. And maybe he is. I'm not there because I've been a Derek Carr fan. I've been an Antonio Brown fan. It's never personal for me. But what it is, when it comes to my Raiders and the Raider fans there in the organization, Antonio Brown should respect them more. Derek Carr's not Antonio Brown. It's not his job to negotiate on Antonio Brown's behalf, especially since Antonio Brown has been nothing but a pain in the ass since he walked into the doors in Oakland.
Sean Salisbury joining us. Last thing on Antonio Brown then. I know when I went downstairs during the last break, Sean, I saw my boss's car pull in, and it got me thinking, if he came up to me after this show and said, hey, that interview sucked, or that segment was terrible, and one of my partners had to hold me back from hitting him, and then I punted a microphone. I'm not coming to work on Monday, and I'm probably never coming to work here again. So my question to you is this. I think we both agree on what should happen, but in your opinion, can the relationship between Antonio Brown and the Raiders, and specifically Mike Mayock, his boss, can that be repaired after that?
Repaired and adjusted, maybe fixed permanently? Hell no, because respect's gone.
Yep. Oop, did we lose Sean? No, he's still there. Do you hear him? All right, let me put, I know Sean was going through, he put his headset in. Check him on.
Let me try to get him back.
Yeah, get him back.
Because he's still there.
Yeah, I see him.
But he's not there.
My guess is he muted his phone. I'll bet you he muted his phone. That happens. Whenever you hear something go silent like that, but it's still there, he muted his phone. Watch, he muted it with his cheek or something. Because Jay's talking to him right now. I know Sean was driving. He had to put his headset in. But my goodness. All right, there we go.
I'm here.
All right, I see you, buddy. Sorry.
I'm here. No, I'm here. I was just saying, think about the trust. Can you repair it? Maybe. Can it be permanently fixed? No, because when trust is lost and the loyalty, it becomes a problem, whether it's an affair.
Right.
Think about if you and I were teammates and I stole money out of your locker.
Yep.
And then you call, and a buddy saw it, and he said, and I paid it back to you. Now, you may take the money back and say, no problem, but aren't you saying, what's the character deep here? Aren't you going to side-eye me and one-eye me the rest of your life? Of course you are.
Yep.
So, guy, and you're right, you wouldn't have a job. It's the only thing I know in the world where you can go after somebody and do that, and I understand fights happen on the field, but you can go after them, and then they'll welcome you back the next day with the job, say, hey, and all's good. You wanted to go kill the general manager and beat his brains in. So, first off, I'd tell your boss if he said this segment sucked, that he sucked because this is great radio. That's what I tell him.
That's right.
Because he can't do anything to me. No, I'm kidding. But, yeah, so for me, to me, think about if anybody out there that's listening, male or female, has been wronged by your significant other, and you take them back. Is it better? Or aren't you always concerned that, he's 10 minutes later, she's 10 minutes late, what's she doing? What's he doing? It'll be the same thing here. Once you cross the line in the sand of respect, it takes years to get respect. It takes minutes to lose it, and loyalty. That's never get. Matter of fact, I don't know if Antonio Brown, any team he goes on, it's ever. I don't need you to like me. I don't care if him and Mike Mayock ever have a meal together. The key is, do you respect me? I don't believe Antonio Brown respects Mike Mayock, and I don't know after this if Mike Mayock respects Antonio Brown, and nor should they. So if it's not fixable, move on. If you think the talent is the best and you can still win and do things with him, then you know what? Go ahead and see if you're a better man than most and go fix it. And I'm always about forgiveness, but you never forget, ever.
All right. So with that being said, you do your show in Houston. I like it when things happen in Houston because I can get a guy who's dealing with it each and every day to come on and explain it to me. The Houston Texans have been getting trashed a lot nationally for their moves right before the season and whatever the situation is in the front office. Are the national people overreacting? Is Houston going to be fine or better? Or are there serious questions you have about the Texans and how they're running their team?
I don't think they're overreacting. I think it's fact. I think the Houston Texans deserve a lot of it's self-inflicted. They botched the Clowney thing from the get-go, Dave. Now, a third-round pick for that guy, he could go on, he gets 15 sacks this year, he's worth a first-round pick. Yeah. So while Clowney, the questions on him and his energy and his motor, I get all that, but they gave him away for a third-round pick and a couple of average players, and they gave him $7 million to go out the window. to walk with him to pay half the salary. Seattle's gain is Houston Texans' loss, even if you're not a big, huge, clowny guy, and he's not my favorite, but I know he's better than what they got. As far as the Dolphins thing, we've been bitching and complaining about getting a left tackle and a guy who's a difference maker. They got Laramie Tunsil. Now, is he Anthony Munoz? No. So we got to guard against that. He's not been to a Pro Bowl, even though he's got all kinds of, people talk about him, how great he is, and I get it. And he makes Deshaun Watson's job easier. He's already the best lineman on their team. But there's 5 of them, not 1. And there's no group in sports other than synchronized swimmers that have to be more hand in hand and arm in arm and eye and ear in ear than the 5 guys up front. So one helps Deshaun Watson. There's no doubt. And you need that bell cow lineman. The question is, how do 2 rookies, a couple guys that have been questioned, how do they respond on the road against New Orleans and throughout the season of protecting the quarterback who was sacked 62 times last year? And then you add Stills, who adds depth and is a good player. But 2 number 1s and a 2. So if you're looking at the long term, they got absolutely hammered and hosed in this. Laramie Tunsil's going to have to play like Anthony Munoz, going to have to play like Walter Jones, going to have to play like Jonathan Ogden for everybody to even give it some validation that says, okay, it was the right move. Schedule's brutal. They're a 9-7 team. Can they win the division? I think they're the best team in the division because they got the best quarterback, no doubt. But they deserve a lot of this hammering they're getting. A lot of it's been self-inflicted. Obviously, I hope for success for them. But I personally, once you get in the tournament, you got a chance. They're not a Super Bowl threat to me. They got better offensively, worse defensively, so does it cancel each other out? You got to score points, but you better be able to stop guys like Bree. Look at the quarterbacks. Go ahead and look at the schedule the first 6 weeks. It's friggin' brutal who they got to play against.
You always say, and you said it in this interview, that you don't like making knee-jerk reactions, and there's been a lot of knee-jerk reactions after last night's Bears and Packers game. But again, as a guy who's played the game, did the Bears coaching staff make a mistake having their starters, guys like Trubisky, not play at all in the preseason? Did we see the results of that yesterday, or is that being overblown by guys like me?
I think it might be a little overblown because I don't think it's the game reason. To me, it's the lack of practice and full speed practice and gear we can put on during. You know who suffered the most? What did you watch offensive line play last night?
Oh my goodness,
it was brutal. It was friggin' brutal, and the Bears' offensive line's pretty damn good. And Rodgers, 3 sacks in the first half. That's what suffers the most, Dave, is the physicality. Now, do we really think, and I'm just curious, that 8 plays for Mitch Trubisky, 8 throws would have made a difference last night? Honestly, 4 plays in the first one, maybe 10 throws in the third one. So what happens if all of a sudden, if Daniel Jones were to start in place of Eli Manning, he had like a million throws in the preseason, right? And he goes out there and goes 4 out of 21. Do we say, then what? Oh, well, he got a million throws in the preseason. So I get why people want to put the games. It's the preseason practices. You can't practice 2 practices in a row in pads. Hell, you can't do it. You're not allowed. So it's the practice and the live bullets that are flying in practice and the blitzes and all those things. Because in the game, it's pretty generic. And then last night you saw it. Green Bay's defense stepped up. If you're Green Bay's offense, you're like, damn, this Bears defense looks like the 2000 Ravens. They're real good too. But there'll be no time this year, in my mind, that a team that if the 13-3, even with the way Trubisky played last night. I think it's overrated, the preseason games. It's the preseason practice time and the number of times you can work with offensive line and be physical. And I don't want to say afraid to death, but I hope the first month of the season we don't get what we saw last night, which was brutal offensive play. Even Aaron Rodgers struggled. I know, well, he didn't play in the preseason either. Well, I think Aaron Rodgers understands what real means and what fake means.
Sean Salisbury with us, one of my favorite people in the world, and I encourage you. You tune in to half the radio stations, sports stations in the country, you're going to hear the guy talking. He's the hardest working man, woman, anyone in the entire business and has been for years. But you can also get Sean 24/7 because he's a cyborg and he never sleeps. Follow him at Sean Unfiltered, and you can get all of his thoughts, videos throughout the day, and he will continue, of course, to join us each and every Friday, 5 minutes after he gets off a 4-hour radio show. That's why I love him. Buddy, I appreciate you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, bud. I'm in Austin going to the LSU-Texas game. Should be a great college weekend. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
The Drive.